He's always been there because I believe one of the things that he says in scripture is consider it pure joy when you fall into trials, right? He doesn't say if. He never says if. He says when, because he knows they're coming. So he's like, what are you going to do? So I could have, after being sick, I could have just said, you know what, I'm too old. I can't do this. Who's going to hire me? Who's going to want to work with somebody who, is that much older and maybe doesn't know the tricks of the trade? I mean, technology is one of my weaknesses. Everybody knows that, but I'm in it. I surround myself with people like you who are very good at that, and I'm learning. I have, my team is very good at it, and so I learn from them. I think it's about allowing yourself to get out of your comfort zone. That's the biggest thing. And isn't that what God wants us to do, right? He wants us to trust him in a time where we're like, no, I just want to go back here and do what we always do.
Hello, I am so excited to welcome today another friend of mine, Melissa Trafford. I have been blessed to watch her journey also from very near the beginning and to just watch her incredible growth. God has just been so good to her in rewarding her hard work. And I don't want to just say God's just handed her blessings because he hasn't. She has worked very, very hard and she's been consistent and showed up when God wanted her to be there. So I am really excited to get to hear it from her because I've kind of been able to watch it from this side, but to be able to hear, Melissa, your experiences from your side of it. So let's kind of start with that. Take us back to when you were starting your business. Kind of tell us why, what was the background there?
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me here today. Super honored and blessed to just be here, and first and foremost, just to call you my friend. Like, you are just amazing, and I just feel so honored that this friendship that we've built. And so, just thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Don't make me cry here, okay?
Um, so I'll kind of go back. I've um, always kind of worked in the accounting world, so to speak. Um, we'll go way back when I was having children, and I just wanted to work at home. Right? It's just you want to have it all, right? You want to be able to raise your kids, but you want to feel like you're providing as well, even though, my husband was like, I got this, like, stay at home. So I dabbled in some things, and I was blessed enough to find somebody who owned a business who I kind of came in and did just all their invoicing, their all that kind of stuff, which really carried me through while my kids were younger. Worked for somebody else doing that as well. And then as they got older, I decided I was going to go into the corporate world. And it's not a bad thing per se, just different, right? It's just very different. And I had kind of been comfortable in my own home for so long and so blessed with that. And when I went into the corporate world, I realized quickly that I was a number. And myself, where I was working at the time, did not care about my family or, my health. They wanted things done and depended highly on me. And so it was, I'm trying to think, it was just after COVID. I was working there full time and I got really sick, really, really, really sick. And I ended up having a bone infection. And so, like, scared, didn't know how to, my kids are all grown now, trying to figure out what we needed to do. So basically I had to go in and get treatments every day for 60 days. I had to go into the infusion center for like about 2 hours. And so trying to go to work, and they made me exhausted. I wasn't feeling good. I looked terrible and just really didn't have support in my role. I had had surgery. The infection started in my gum line, and so I went in to have surgery. And next thing I know, like the next day, the boss is like, "Are you coming in today?" And my husband's like texting, "She just had surgery. Like, she can't I mean, I'm like, ooh. So I learned quickly, like, no, hey, how was surgery? How are you doing? And again, nothing against, I think they depended on me and it was a need. And so um, I went on disability, which was my big God moment. And actually, prior to all this happening, my doctor had been telling me, "You're too stressed. You need to quit that job." And I
Sometimes we have to get hit upside the head with a 2x4.
felt like God was saying, "You need to leave. You need to leave." These little things along the way, right? But you're like, "I got this. I can do it. I can do it." And um, I don't think God puts bad things in our life per se, but I do think that He comes alongside us when bad things happen. Like, I knew this was going to happen because you were not listening, and so in the time of it, I was just like devastated. I was hurt by my job, hurt, sick. Um, my husband kept saying, "It's fine, you don't need to work," but anyone who knows me knows I love to travel. So that would mean, I had spent all this time, raising these kids and being blessed that I wanted to do something on my own. I wanted to feel like I was making a difference. And of course, God is always like, "You are making a difference." It's just think you have to have it a certain way. And so I think that was me first learning that um, what I thought I was supposed to do was not where God wanted me. So, and the interesting thing about this, before I started any of this, is I have a core group of girlfriends that we've been friends since our kids were little. We were in Mothers of Preschoolers together at church. And as they were growing and everything, I remember being at one of our friends' house and we were in the swimming pool and we're all at the end of the pool. And I said, "You guys, you know what we should do? We should start our own business. We should start a business where moms can work from home so they can take care of their kids and they can still feel like they're doing something, they're accomplished, their whole identity isn't just in their children. We should do that." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we should." And we threw around ideas and we're like, "It'll be great in the summer. They can have summers off. And then when their kids go to school, they can work." And so now we laugh about it and they're like, "Melissa, you did it. You're doing what you said." And so anyone that I hire gets to work from home. I just hired my daughter who's expecting any moment, any day, and she gets to work from home. She gets to make her own schedule so that she can have time with my grandson and still feel fulfilled. So, yeah. So
I love that.
I know how it, that, well, kind of how it started. And then I went on disability and a friend of mine said, if you could own a business, what business would you do? Because you seem like you're a good business owner. I'm like, "I'm 50. I can't start a business." Now I'm giving out my age, but I was 50 at the time, and I'm like, I can't start a business. Like, who starts a business at 50, and what would I do? And he goes, "Well, tell me what you like to do." And I was like, in all honesty, I would love to be a Disney travel agent. And he chuckled, and he was like, "I was thinking something more lucrative." And I'm like, "Have you seen what some of those agents make? Like, they make some bank, and they get to go to Disney every year." So he said, "Think of something else." And so I said, "The only thing I know is accounting. It's what I've done like forever, like the last 20 years." And he's like, "You should start an accounting firm. You should do bookkeeping and payroll and taxes." And I was like, "I can't do that." And then I just started doing some research, came across this amazing group of people at Bookkeeper Launch and said, "I'm going to do this." And here I am now. And God has just really, He's always blessed me, even in the times that I didn't feel like it was a blessing. He's always been there. because I believe one of the things that he says in scripture is consider it pure joy when you fall into trials, right? He doesn't say if. He never says if. He says when, because he knows they're coming. So he's like, what are you going to do? So I could have, after being sick, I could have just said, you know what, I'm too old. I can't do this. Who's going to hire me? Who's going to want to work with somebody who, is that much older and maybe doesn't know the tricks of the trade? I mean, technology is one of my weaknesses. Everybody knows that, but I'm in it. I surround myself with people like you who are very good at that, and I'm learning. I have, my team is very good at it, and so I learn from them. I think it's about allowing yourself to get out of your comfort zone. That's the biggest thing. And that isn't that what God wants us to do, right? He wants us to trust him in a time where we're like, no, I just want to go back here and do what I always do. So,
Well, and I think about too the verse that where it says, God works for good to those who love him. And just like you're saying, if we trust him, he can take anything that we have in our life and use it for good. And we might not see it right away. We might wonder, what in the world are you doing?
right.
But eventually it all makes sense eventually at some point. And so it's just, yeah, I love to watch the journey because things that, I mean, the same is true for me. Like, I started my business, I was on the other side. I was 22, and I had a lot of the insecurity of, oh, I'm too young. I don't have enough experience. Nobody's going to trust me because I don't know what I'm doing. But, like, I think it's interesting to see that no matter when you start it, you still feel like it's not a good time to start it.
Yes. But it's scary, right? It's I'm an extrovert, and so to sit behind this screen day in and day out, it's so sometimes so lonely, but yet so peaceful. Does that make sense? Um, I think the younger generation has taught us so much, and COVID particularly. So I was always that mom that was like on the go, packing the lunches, getting to the soccer game, going over to volleyball, making sure we're at music practice, all the things, running, running, running. And everyone's always like, "Oh, you gotta listen for God." It's like, well, sometimes I was so busy that I wasn't able to hear God because I was constantly doing something, right? So then COVID hits and our world stops, right? And for a while I was like, oh, I'm gonna lose my mind. I got to get out. I got to see people. This is not good for Melissa. Like, this is gonna be very bad. But it taught me it's okay to be by myself. And so I think that was, again, God uses things, right? Because he knows that Melissa likes a lot of action, busy, woo, all the bells and whistles. And he was like, you can hear me when it's cool.
And I think that's not just unique to business owners. Like, business owners, we have that, but also as moms. Because I was just talking to a friend the other day who was like, "Oh, I just get so tired doing all the running. I'm just constantly running." And I looked at her and I said, "You don't have to do all of that. Like, you can pick and choose the things that you want to do. You don't have to do all the extracurriculars that your kids want to do. That's fine that they want to, but you can pick a handful and maybe do the others the next year or something." Like, if we overbook ourselves, it's just exhausting. And then are we really living the life that we want to live if we're running all the time? Like, that's
Right.
a question that I have to ask myself, because there's a lot of things that I would love to do, but there's not enough hours in the day. And sometimes I have to stop and be like, I think I just need to be satisfied and content with the things that happen in the day, and treasure the what's happening in the day, and then be ready for the next day where you're treasuring what's happening in that day. So I think there's a lot of that that relates to business owners, but also to just moms in general too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we all have that Mary Martha situation, right? And so I'd like to say I've figured it out. God has made me who I am. And so I still, even though I knew like, okay, my kids, I did all this stuff and it's like, slow down during COVID, but it picks right back up. And I find myself, I can take that client. I can do this. I'm going to go to this conference. I'm going to travel here. I'm going to this networking event. I'm going to add this service. I have a tendency to jump in with both feet and figure it out. So part of that is like, is God saying, "Oh, Melissa, just listen to me," or is He like, "I got you when you jump in with both feet"? Like I mean, it's a little of both, right? It's I have to balance that. I have to trust Him, but then sometimes I'm like, okay, hold back. You're not ready quite yet. And I think that what I do love about my generation, it was all about work hard, work hard, work hard, prove yourself, right? So, in school, whatever it is, it's like you have to be the best. You have to, you know, your business has to be the best. Listen, there are many businesses out there that are better than mine, and I'm okay with that now. Like, I am not the best at this. I feel like I'm good. I'm good enough for me, and I will love my clients. I will come alongside them, and I will do what it takes. But to say I'm the best, no. I mean, I would love to say that, but that's a lesson that I've learned. And partly it's because this generation, this new generation, they don't necessarily do that. They're like, my mental health is more important. My this is more important. And that's just not how we grew up. It was like, oh, what will the neighbors think? What will people say? And I think it's even changing in like the church as far as I think we do that, not just in business but in church. Like, if I don't have this family that comes in and that sits in the pew and is all perfect, then what will people think? What will they say about me? And we have to remember, this is so hard for me, but sometimes it doesn't really matter, because it matters what God thinks, because God knows all of it, right? So He already knows what's happening in our business. He knows what's happening in our personal life. And so for me, I think it's just looking at people and going, I'll accept you for who you are because I don't know what you're going through. I think that's super, super important. And I think sometimes as believers, we can tend to be a little bit judgmental. And I'll admit, I probably was there years ago. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And so now I feel like I am more just loving, and because that's what God loves me for who I am, my mistakes, my flaws, everything, my craziness. There are a lot of people that can't handle Melissa because I'm a little bit too much paint, too much craziness. And I have to be okay. I have to walk into a room and know that not everybody is going to love me, which is really hard for a people pleaser. Um, but it's okay. And I've learned that usually the people that don't, they're not my cup of tea either. But I wish them well and I want them to succeed. I want them to do well. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting how everything ebbs and flows in business and in your everyday life. It's all there, no
I like
matter.
to call it seasons. And I
Mm,
really learned that when I first became a mom because I had a really rough time postpartum. And I'm starting a new business. I'm not even sure if it's going to get off the ground, right? It was a really dark time for me. And I thought it was going to be that way forever. Like, and I didn't have any, like once I got to my second child, then I was like, okay, I know I have something to compare it to, right?
right.
I didn't have anything to compare it to, and I was pretty isolated. We lived in Georgia where I didn't have any family. I didn't even know anybody. Like, I didn't have anyone really to be like, is this normal? Is this going to last forever? Like, I didn't
Right.
have that big sister as they call them. So, like, I thought it would last forever. And then, she grew up a little bit and then she started crawling. And so we got out of the colic stage and into the crawling stage. And I was like, one day I just looked at her and I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as it used to be. And as each thing, like, there were things I loved, there were things I didn't like so much in each new season, but I've started to realize it's not just motherhood
Mhm.
and your children growing up that have seasons. It's your business, it's your life. There's just seasonal changes, and some seasons last a long time. Some seasons have a lot more things to love than others do. But
Yeah.
when someone's not in the exact same season as you, and this goes back to the judging comment, when someone's not in the exact same season as you, and if you haven't lived through that kind of a season already, it's very easy to look at them in that season and be like, what in the world? And to misunderstand their season.
Right. Yes.
But then when a similar season happens to you, you're like, oh, that makes a lot more sense now.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think back when my first, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, but when your first is born, you don't know. It's kind of like your business. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what you're doing, right? So you've read the books, you're ready, and you do all the things. You boil the pacifier and the bottles, and you sterilize everything. Everything is, the cart at Meyer or the grocery store is like you wash it all down, right? And then all of a sudden you have this second child, and you're like, okay, I've done this before. Maybe it's, I don't have to be so crazy. Germs are okay. Like, maybe it's just a little hot water here and there. I'm rinsing the pacifier under hot water. I'm not boiling everything. Maybe I'm just wiping down the cart. And then I had my third, and it was like, okay, I ain't got time for this. I'm just like wiping on my leg. Here you go. Like, and by your fourth, you're like, God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. Like, you will be fine, brother. You will be fine. And you wonder, like, is that why each child is so different? Because your mothering changes? Is that why in business it's different with your clients because you've learned something along the way? With the first one, won't do that. Oh, I don't need to do that. And so each client, you're like, I've learned, not to do so many different things. I had one client that every time he emailed, boom, I was right back. Guess what I learned? Don't do that, because when I waited 6 hours, he was so mad. Basically said, my communication was a lackluster, is what he said. And I was just like, I don't get this. But I had been gaining clients, but I started it. I started letting him think that as soon as he emailed me, he was going to get that email back. And so I learned quickly, even though in my contract it says you give me 24 hours, the whole weekend, but I set the tone with him. I set the tone that I would get back to him right away. And when I didn't, he was not happy. And he felt like it was really important and that I should have responded sooner than I did. And so even though I was like, okay, he's being ridiculous, I had to step back and not be angry and say, I did this myself. That's the important thing, I think, in business, is you have to learn that sometimes if somebody's unhappy with you, maybe it's something that you could have done better. And maybe it isn't, but you just have to take that higher road to say, okay, I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to do it better next time, because we cannot make all of our clients happy. We cannot make everybody happy. I've tried it. It's too exhausting. It's so exhausting. It's so exhausting. And I'm a work in progress, right? So,
Well, and I think for anyone starting their business that's listening, you just shared something super important. Whatever processes you're doing or what you're doing in your business, always be considering if it's sustainable long term. Because if it's something that you can do when you have one client, it might not be something you can continue doing when you have 3 or 10 clients. And so just pace yourself. And I'd say the same thing with people with like social media and marketing type of stuff. it's better to be consistent. So pace yourself, and what might seem slow, or I could do more at the beginning, right? Over time you will appreciate that you set a consistent pace that you could sustain instead of it wearing you out. And then, like, it's better to be consistent across the board than to go really strong at first until you're burnt out, worn out, and then have to repick it all back up, take a break and repick it all back up. So that
Yeah.
is a super incredible nugget that you just shared.
Well, I'm saying that because my mind is going back a few years when we would meet on Thursdays, and I do believe you said something along those lines. As I didn't have a lot of standard operating procedures, and just was trying to do it. And you would say, "Hey, remember, like, can you do this? Is this sustainable to keep doing this for all these clients?" And so um, you just you want to give your clients the best, right? That is the desire. You want so desperately to make it right from the start to the beginning. And what we have to remember as business owners is they don't know what the start looks like. So they're just as new, and so now when I talk to clients, there's much more, you know, more confidence because it's a lot of the same questions. I've answered them before, but it doesn't mean that I still don't get scared. Sometimes I like wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, how do I have this many clients? What if what if I get more? Like, will I be able to do it all? Who's gonna help me? Like, it never ends, right?
Mhm.
It never ends. And we're never going to feel like I got this. I mean, maybe there are people. If there are, I'd like to meet them because I'd like to know what their secret is. Because even I mean, I have a heavenly Father that sits next to me, and he's like, "Hey, I got you," and I'm like, I know," and then I'm like, "Ugh," be anxious for nothing, but in everything in prayer and petition, make your request. I'm like saying the verse over and over. It's my favorite verse, and he's like, "I know, Melissa. It's because you do worry. I'm a worrier." I think I think women in general, I'm not saying that men don't worry. I think we worry in a different way and we express it differently. I think they worry and they keep it in. We worry and we tell our girlfriends, I don't know what to do. I'm on right here with you. I don't know. Maybe some men would say that, but it just I think it feels different. Um, and worry can take up a lot of our time and a lot of our energy. And
Well,
so,
I
go
have
ahead.
a friend that says that's future me problem. And I realized after he had said it multiple times, I realized a lot of the things that I carried today were actually not things that had to be figured out today. They could be figured out 3 days from now, or a week, or a year, or, and sometimes the things I'm carrying today, by the time I get to them, it's not even an issue. And so I have to be super cautious, like mindful about stopping myself and saying, is that something that I have to carry right now? And it helped for me when my life blew up in my face because I had too much to carry. That when things would come in that I would start to worry about, I didn't have the bandwidth for it. And I would literally say, I don't have room for that right now. I can't carry that. And it helped me. It helped me really start to only focus on the things I have to do right now. And it was a lesson for me in trusting.
Mm,
Not only trusting God, but trusting myself as I follow God. Because I believe that God can do anything. I believe that He will protect us, He will provide for us, He will do all these things. I say I believe it, right? But I'm concerned that I'm not working hard enough to earn it, or I'm not, praying enough to deserve his blessings, or whatever it is, I'm not enough for him to show up for me. And that's not how God works.
no.
Because while we were still sinners is when Christ died for us. And so it doesn't matter if I don't have 100% to give today. It doesn't matter if I just need to take a moment and sit down. Like that's not going to God's not going to shun me because of that. So
Right.
I guess I just had to still work in progress, trusting God, but also trusting myself to trust God that like I can let it go and God can take it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I think that's the key, right? So it's really easy to say, "Oh, you let God handle it." It's doing it. And for me, I know he's there. I've never, I don't want to say never because never is pretty strong. I feel like I don't doubt that, but sometimes I forget and I try to do it myself. And then I'm all frazzled and I'm like, well, it's because it's like a constant. He's there. And then I'm like knee deep in. And he's like, the pebbles. Sometimes I think it's a brick. It's like to get my attention. And I'm like, ouch, don't do that. And he's like, well, you weren't listening, you know? But yeah, we are all a work in progress. We're never going to be able to attain what we think is what he needs. We're enough. But this world, it tells us we're not. That's the problem. The world tells us we're not good enough. We have to have this and we have to have that. And it's a battle. I think it's a battle for all of us.
Well, if we can be distracted working harder and trying more and that, then it's a very easy way to get us distracted from relationship with God, which is what we were really created for. So it's a genius plan to pull us away from him if you think about it.
For sure, for sure.
So what would be some lessons, whether it's, at the beginning, we've kind of talked a little bit about this, but what would be some highlight lessons that you've learned along the way that you look back and you think, wow, that was just an incredible lesson that God gave me through this?
Um, I think originally, so I I was blessed with this opportunity, um, because somebody came alongside of me and said that they thought I had potential, and they said, "I will back you financially if you do this." Um, and there was a lot of doubt with that, like, pinch me, this has got to be too good to be true. If it sounds too good, it is. That's kind of the world we live in, like, oh, you're not going to win this $1 million, right? So that's kind of how I felt. And then once I realized it was real, then it was, will I let this person down who believed in me? Will I let my husband down who believed in me? And I had to learn, and I had to learn pretty quickly, because business, it happens either, I hear sometimes people, it takes a while for clients, or sometimes it just, they were rolling in. And I was blessed. I was completely blessed by it, but I had to learn real quickly that I was good enough and I was capable of handling it. Because even in times where I doubted myself, I just had to push through and fake it fake it till you make it, right? And I would just, like, after I would get off of the phone call with a client and like, I would talk like everything was fine, and then get off the phone and just be complete white knuckled, like, I gotta do what? How am I gonna do this? Am I capable? And then I would remember, I've been doing this for a long time. I am capable. It's a mind game. It really is. It's mind over matter, because so that's one of the biggest things that I learned, is when that would creep in, that you're not good enough, you can't do it. I didn't have to be the best at it, but I had to get that out of my mind. I had to not hear, you can't do it. And so, whether it was, I would write, you got this, you got this, you got this, or call one of my good friends and she'd be like, oh my gosh, you got this, or get on a Thursday call and say a win and somebody say, you got this, you're amazing. Like, we have to have sometimes encouragement. So, one of the biggest things that I learned is you have to surround yourself with people who will encourage you. If you are around people that are not encouraging you, I would really tell you to maybe think through who you're being around, because people should be encouraging you and they should be wanting you to succeed. And if they're not, then what is God trying to tell you there? Because if they love you like God loves you, they want to see success. And so I just really started surrounding myself with people who were like my cheerleaders, my core 4 girlfriends, you know, just surrounding myself with them. Um, with this group, with you, Jaime, like, that made a difference for me, because it was people who said, "Yeah, I've been there. I still kind of feel that way, but you'll get through this." And so, if you're sitting here and you're watching this and you're feeling alone, you gotta find a group of like-minded encouragers, people that will be positive, people that will cheer you on to the finish line. That was my biggest lesson in all this. And when I still go to the Thursday meetings. I feel like I've established my business, and I'm sure people are probably like, there are people that come on there like, I just got my business cards today. Woohoo! It's like, that's exciting. I've been there. I said that 3 years ago. So people often say like, I'm not sure, why do you still go to those? Why? Because it motivates me. Because I get to be around people who cheer me on at the stage I'm in right now, and then I get to cheer other people on in their stage. I get to say, just like you did, yep, I did that. Don't do that. Try not to do that, but you got it. Oh, you're thinking about working with family? Let me caution you on that. Just the little things. And it's not always the right thing. I mean, Ben told me, don't do payroll. I love payroll. I know, the accounting world is like a gasp. Everybody does not like payroll, but I just find it to be great. So, but you do have to have encouragement. I would say that's the key, especially in business, being a business owner. I mean, God encourages us daily with what we see outside, the beauty, everything that He's done, but He calls us to have a community of people.
Yep. And I think in the accounting space specifically, there's a lot of people who are introverts. And so, myself included, we, on a daily or weekly basis, we don't prioritize community, like getting involved, being around people, surrounding ourselves with people. And thankfully, my sister is more of that kind of person. So, for here, now where I live locally, like, she gets me involved in, she just drags me along to her stuff. And sometimes I'm like, I'm done. I'm done peopling. Like, I just need to take a moment. But it is so, so important after having come out of a time in my life where I was isolated. It is dangerous. It is dangerous to not have people around you. And actually, when you look at abuse cycles and, domestic violence and that kind of thing, the one thing in common is you are isolated. Because if you are surrounded by people, you are stronger, you are more capable, and you are more likely to desire more for yourself and to work harder to get it. So it's so, so important. Even if that group that you're surrounding yourself with is primarily virtual, it is so important to have a group of people that get you. And this can be, I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago where she was like, I feel like all my local friends don't get it. They get like their moms, and so they get it as like a mom, but they don't get it from a business owner side of things.
Right.
And it really made me think about it. I kind of have two sets of people. I have people like you, Melissa, where you understand the business side of things, like you get it. And then I have mom friends that are in the trenches as moms of littles with me right now, but they don't get the business side of things. And so
Right.
I kind of, you just have to find your people that get different aspects of your life. But that
Yeah,
community is so important.
it really is. And that's, I mean, even though we would see each other weekly on our meetings and like here, when we do get that in-person time, man, it's like a treasure, right? It's and it's like we go because we want to, hear all this. We want to be taught something, right? And but yet our heart is tugging at us to also like, oh, we want to hear this speaker, but now we also would like to go and have lunch with this community of people that has really helped champion our business. And so it's like I always feel like once a year is just not enough, but I'll take it. I'll take it, for now. But it's just so exciting to have that. And I think that when people are struggling in their business, that's the one thing that I would ask them to reflect on is, are they trusting um, their heavenly Father for what He has blessed them with, and then how are they using that blessing to connect their business by learning from other people. I tell people all the time, I'm like, man, the accounting world, like, we are a great group of friends. There's none of this like, don't take my like, we just are like, oh, you need that, I got that. You need my help, all right, I'll send this person over. That is a beautiful thing. That's the way our world should look. We should be doing that on a regular basis, not in business, but in everyday life. What can I do to help you? What can I do to come alongside you? And also accept help, because I think that is a big problem that
You're
we
not
all
talking
do, right?
about me at all.
I mean, all of us, right? It's great. We're like, I'll make you dinner. I'll bring you this. I can send that. We'll do things for it. But then it's like, oh no, I got it. I got it. And inside we're like falling apart. Like I'm a hot mess express over here. And it's like, just let your friends, let them do what you're robbing them of their joy. So that's the way I've always looked at it when I'm like, oh, I don't need help. And then I'm like, I'm robbing them. I'm robbing them of, I know what the joy feels like when I get to help somebody. Don't take their joy.
Yep. Oh, I love that. And we don't think about that a lot. We think about it from our perspective. So to turn it around and think about, because you're right. Like if I just think about it from my perspective, it's like, oh, I feel so selfish accepting the help, right? So I have to think about it from that way, and then it gives it, like, I can finally say yes.
Right. You'd be like, I just want to make them happy. They want it. They want to bring me some dinner. They want to help mow my yard. I just want to make them feel good.
Exactly.
Because you would do it for them. That's the thing, right? You would
Yep.
be like the first in line to help somebody else. And so it's not like you're taking advantage or anything like but that's what we get ourselves. It's that mind again. Um, our mind tells us and plays tricks on us that, oh, I don't need help. I got this on my own. And then we isolate ourselves and we're in this trap.
Yep. Okay, so one last question for you. Something that
Okay.
has been unexpected for me in my business is and hence the name of the podcast, is how it's become a ministry. The people I get to serve, the things I'm blessed to do because I run a business. What are some of the things, possibly unexpected, or maybe you've orchestrated on purpose, but what are some of the ways that your business has allowed you to serve? Who and what kind of, how has it become a ministry for you?
Well, here's the thing. In this business in particular, we're dealing with sensitive information, right? So there has to be this high level of trust. So when someone comes to you, they are giving you their world of finance, which for some people is very, very difficult. Um, and the way I like to do my business, because I love people, um, is yes, I'll fix your numbers, I'll give you your profit loss. For me, it's become more than that. It's getting to know them. And there would be some people that are like, I don't have time to get to know my clients. I don't want to get to know my clients. They may feel that way. I am completely opposite. I want to get to know them. I will share things with them about my life. I think when we're transparent with people and we're honest about our own struggles, people feel like they genuinely can then tell you how they're feeling. And so I've had clients reach out to me because they're filing for divorce and they don't know what to do. It has nothing to do with their business, their spouse has nothing to do with it. Or I had another client tell me that she was struggling with gambling. I had somebody else tell me, that their child was struggling with, they just got diagnosed with on the spectrum. And so it becomes more than just reconciliation and putting together a profit loss sheet, making sure their balance sheet is all looking, top notch. It isn't about that. At the end of the day, for me, it's about people and how I can come alongside them in the times where they're celebrating, whether it be they just had a baby or I just had one of our coworkers, she just got married. Those are things that are really, really important. And I wanted that to be important when I was working. So how can I say that that's important if I don't live it? So, and I try to do that with the people who work in my company and my clients and anyone in between, all the people, like, just have honest conversations with people. That's how you get to know people. And that's when you realize where people maybe may need more than just help with their payroll. Maybe it's, they just need to go out to dinner. And, my husband and I have a lot of different clients that we'll go meet up with and, just talk with and just get to know and that they're friends. Some people would say, oh, I don't want to do that. And that's fine. It's not for everybody, but it's part of my ministry of what I feel led to do is to do more than just report things to my clients, but really be there for them on a lot of different levels.
Well, and I think what you just described is a basic human desire that everyone can relate to. We want to be seen. We want to be seen in the everyday where we are. And when that happens, when someone actually sees you and cares about it, you remember them and you begin to wonder, what do they have that's different than every other person that walks by me on the street that doesn't see me? And I think it's a huge opportunity to share the love of God because you're living it. They're feeling it through the way that you're living your life. And I think a lot of us overlook that opportunity. We have a lot of opportunities with people we talk to or see, and we rush, 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 focus on our life, trying to get things done, and we miss those opportunities. So the fact that you're intentional about it is huge, huge.
Thank you. I mean, there are some of my clients that they don't. They're and that's fine. But I always try to give an opportunity. And it's a seed, right? It's a planting. Maybe I'm just there to plant the seed. Maybe I'm in a stage where I'm watering it. Maybe, God is using me in however He wants, whatever that looks like. For any of my clients, no matter where they are. I have clients that would say that they don't even believe in what I believe in. That does not mean they don't get to work alongside me. That just makes me more motivated but I respect them in where they're at. I respect them in how they believe, but for me it's just about loving them where they're at because that's what God calls me to do. God calls me to do that, even on days when for some it's difficult. And I have to remember, I'm like, don't be, walk in their shoes, walk in their shoes. If I was walking in their shoes, maybe I would understand them better.
that season that they're in. Yep. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for your insight, sharing your story. Sneak peek ahead, we will be having Melissa on again to share a little bit more of her story. This is only part of it. So I'm really excited for that. But I just really appreciate you encouraging us, sharing what your business has looked like, the journey that God's led you. Do you have any piece of encouragement besides what you've already shared that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Just say, you know, be who you are, be authentically you, find a community, embrace it, and, if you don't know who God is, if you don't know, then ask. And my prayer would be that you would come alongside somebody who is going to love you where you're at, no matter what it looks like. So,
I love it. Well, that's what we're all here to do. That's what kind of the purpose of the podcast is, to hopefully build that community so that no one feels alone or doesn't have someone to love them where they're at. So I love that. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Heidi, I again, just I feel like God crossed our paths for a very intentional reason, and so incredibly blessed to call you friend, and just have learned so much. You have so much wisdom, and you're just so amazing. And so I feel very lucky that God brought you into my life.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to stop the recording before I start crying. So
Thank you
thank
for
you.
having me.